Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we gotta talk about two things real quick. And the two things by themselves, I don't, well, they're important to me personally either way, but I think it's gonna have long-lasting effects for Madrid, depending on how it goes for quite some time. The first one is actually going to be Vinny's contract situation. So up to now, I believe it's three times that contract talks have begun and halted. Now that by itself is not anything crazy. It does happen. You hear with players. They start talking, and the player wants certain things, the club wants certain things, they negotiate, they can't come to an understanding, negotiations stop, and then the closer and closer you are to, being at a point where you need to renew the contract, then everyone just agrees on stuff. It's regular stuff. But the reason why I think Vinny's is gonna be so impactful down the line is because of why he wants that much money. So if you guys don't know, like Mbappe right now is the highest paid player in Madrid, and Vinny wants to be able to basically, like, he doesn't want to be below him. And there's two ways of thinking about it, right? From a footballing standpoint, you understand why Mbappe makes more because, as I've said before, I would rather keep Vinny over Mbappe. But again, like I've said before, Mbappe is easily the better player between the two. So you understand why his value is a little bit higher, right? Um, and his CV, like he's won multiple titles. Even if League is not as competitive as other leagues, or at least wasn't back then, his he still has them. And the thing is, to me, his most valuable international, I'm sorry, his most valuable club trophy to this day is the League on title he won with Monaco, because that Monaco team was, it was unexpected. That was the year that he came up. Um, Radamel Falcao to me was the most important, goal scorer in that team. But you can very, very reasonably make an argument that if it wasn't for Mbappe on that team, Monaco would not have gone that far, right? Both in the Champions League because they knocked out Man City, and just in the overall just winning of that league title. Um, and obviously he has a World Cup to his name, right? The most prestigious award in or team trophy in all of football. But the thing is, at that point comes the part where it's how important how are those trophies that you won in the past to the club that you're in now, right? So Mbappe's 2 years older than Vinny, but Vinny has been in Madrid since he was 18. He's won Champions Leagues, he's won La Liga titles, he's won Copa del Rey, he's won every single trophy there is to win in club football with Madrid multiple times, like over, right? He has two World Cups to his name, and one international cup. If I'm gonna count them together as one, so three. But he has these titles with him, and on top of that, he was always meant to be, the successor in a way, right? Like when he got there, we still didn't know that Ronaldo was gonna leave. So I had the intention, even if it was just for a month or two, that they were gonna play together. Once he left, Benzema took over, and the idea was that, at least to a lot of Madridistas, that he was gonna be the next big thing, because especially with the whole Kylian Mbappe situation, where he fucking played us around for 3 4 seasons, we still had which to me still leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Um, but yeah, like he was the guy, he was him, and he and it's not like when Benzema left, we didn't win anything. He still went on to win the Champions League, La Liga, all that stuff. Just one full season ago. So he has that resume with Madrid. So he's brought those trophies to Madrid. He's a big reason why Madrid has been so successful in the past like 5 seasons. Um, so he doesn't want to make less than Mbappe, even if Mbappe is a better player. He doesn't want to make less than him because of his contributions to the club. And you understand that from a point of view, bro. It's like if you're at work, right? Let's say somebody else comes in from work. He's like, he's better than at what you do, so you understand his value. But at the same time, you're not. It's not like you're a scrub. Like, you've been performing very well, and you've been a big part as to why that business has been successful. So you understand why he's a valuable asset. But should he really be making more money than you, considering you're not a scrub? You're still the second best player on the team, and like, you've contributed to the team's success already. Sorry, I feel like I got it. Oh yeah. Oh god, there it was. Oh, sorry. Nature happens. You know what I mean? So, like, I understand where that's coming from. And I don't know how this is gonna be resolved. I honestly don't. Um, but this is the thing where it bothers me the most, because I'm not gonna pretend to know, what the contracts are, what the bonuses are, and or how they want to make up to that 30 million that he wants a year. But aside the fact that this is gonna have two implications down the line. If he doesn't renew, right, and he does end up leaving, then it sends a weird to me. It sends a weird precedent that what success you bring to the club is irrelevant. And if you're a big name, you're gonna come in and you're gonna get paid a lot of money. And again, like you understand the value of them bringing these players and giving them these large contracts because of how good they are. But at the same time, like if you're a great player and you contribute to the success of the club, you should also be compensated to a certain point, especially if it's a situation where you don't want to leave. Like I don't believe Vinny wants to leave. I think the way that the team is structured, it might be better. It might be beneficial if, like I said before, whether him or Mbappe leave, but he doesn't want to leave. And at the end of the day, you gotta remember he's been, if I'm not mistaken, he's been a Ballon d'Or candidate, like a top 10 candidate 4 times, depending on how it goes this season. And by the way, I don't think he deserves to be a top 10 Ballon d'Or candidate this season. But if it goes that way, that he'd be three, he'd be four, he'd be 3 times top 10. And again, I believe he was robbed last year, but up until the very like few days before the Ballon d'Or ceremony, most of the world thought he was the favorite to win it. So, he has all that shit under his belt. So you understand. But, like getting back to the other president, like I said, I think it's just a bad president for the players who are already at the club, right? Because they might say like, yo, like I've been here, I've been contributing all this time, and every single time that they have a player who is good but doesn't have the same CV that I do, they're just gonna bring him over and just give him a lot more money. Like what? Like what's the point? And again, like you're not talking about players like, it'd be a different story if someone like, and he's a great player, but if someone like Brahim was doing this shit, then obviously not. Like, obviously he's not worth it, right? Again, amazing player, but there's just levels to it, and you have to understand that. But it's not Brahim, it's Vini Jr., someone who has all that stuff on their CV. I understand he had a bad season, and as angry and pissed off as he's made me for the past season and a half, based on just his performances, bro, like it's it's fucking it's insane. Like people tend to forget real quick what happened 3 or 4 seasons ago. And dude, like for that up to now, he's like, even though we didn't succeed that well in the Champions League, over the past 5 seasons as a collective, he has been the best player in the Champions League. Goals, assists, whatever it is, trophies, actually winning the award, the best player in the Champions League award when we won 2 seasons ago, best young player when we won in 2022. Dude, like he has that CV. So you understand where he's coming from. And another one is the actual players that are there already. Because again, Mbappe, he has the talent, he has the skill you know, to demand that. But at the same time, Bellingham's 22 years old. He's only gonna get better. And you see how much we miss him already. The first game of the season was, to me, was a horrible fucking game overall, right? And you see how much we miss him. But when he plays, you know how influential he is. So when he's 24, 25, how much money is he gonna demand when we're renewing his contract? And what kind of an argument would you have against it? You know what I mean? And the same thing with someone like Valverde, someone who is not the best at not any one thing, but bro, this man is a machine. You could put him anywhere on the field and he performs. And he's our captain. Like, if at least to me, man, like if and remember, Valverde's a little bit on the older side of the squad. He's 27, going on 28, I believe. So why wouldn't he demand like at least 25 mil? You know what I mean? Like it's just a slippery slope, and depending on how it goes, man, it could be very troublesome for the club. Um, Now, the one thing I will say that's kind of beneficial about how the president rolls is that he is very strict with the actual pay structure of the club. Again, I just think him aping for Mbappe just kind of ruined the whole fucking thing, right? But yeah, man, like it's gonna be a tough situation to go through. It depends, and like I said, no matter what happens, because I do believe they might agree to it, but then if he does agree to it, and then Mbappe and Vini are on the same level, then, like I said, well, like what about Bellingham? What about Bellingham when he goes up there, right? So I don't know. It's troublesome to just think about as a diehard Madrid supporter. Um, but yeah, we're just gonna have to see, bro. We're just gonna have to see. And the other one that I want to talk about is Rodrygo's situation. So Rodrygo, man, he got no minutes in the game against Osasuna, and I think that was a big signal as to what's gonna happen with him. Do I believe he's gonna leave at the end of before this summer ends? I think it's much more likely now that he didn't get any minutes in the first game of the season as it was even 2 weeks ago. Um, is I would say it's 50-50 depending on the clubs that are after him and what they're offering. Because to me, man, like if some of these players that have sold for over 100 mil are worth that much, Rodrigo's at the very least worth like 90. He's a very, very good player. Like, and he's just unfortunately at a club like Madrid, right? And this can happen in big clubs too when you have these type of players up in front. He is a victim of how good and talented the other players are. Now, to me, like, and I said this before, man, last season, even though he didn't have the stats to support it, I believe Rodrigo was more influential to the team overall than Vinny because he was actually tracking back. Like, he out of the three, he did the most stuff off the ball that contributed to the team actually doing some shit here and there, right? Um, and again, Mbappe scored a lot of goals last season, but I'm still holding it against him that that was all he fucking did. He could have tracked back, he could have gone forward, and Rodrigo was doing all of that. And if you actually watch the games, Vinny and Mbappe don't mesh. They just don't mesh that well. Well, Rodrigo can mesh better with either one of them than each other could. The fuck? Yeah, so yeah, so Rodrigo goes better with Mbappe or Vinny than Vinny and Mbappe go with each other. It's all of last season is proof every single time that they've played that you've seen them play together. It's proof. So I don't. It's. I'd be very sad to see him go. I'm still trying to get a Rodrigo jersey now. Because I and if I've said it before, like I don't get a lot of players' jerseys names on it. Doncic is the first player in basketball that I like. He's the reason why I started, trying to follow basketball. So I have him. I have two Marcelo jerseys. He's not the best. I'm not saying he's the best. He is my favorite player of all time. I have a classic Casillas. I have Modric. I got the special edition Modric one before he went away, and I have Vini Jr. up there. And I would want to have Rodrigo because no matter when he leaves or how he leaves, he's gonna be seen, I think, by a large amount of Madrid fans as a legend. And yeah, it's gonna be one of those situations, kind of like a Joselu situation, right? He came in, he showed out, and he left. Now that was a one season thing, but everyone's gonna remember for as long as they live. If you're a Madrid fan, those goals that Joselu scored in the Champions League to help us win that, to help us to the final to win it, right? And every time you think of Rodrigo, you think of clutch moments to me, right? Clutch against Man City, clutch against Bayern, clutch in the final. Even though he didn't score, he was very clutch in it when providing the assists and stuff like that. So yeah, man, like I hope something happens in the team where we could keep Rodrigo. But at the end of the day, that's just me being selfish, bro. Because like this kid, there's not many teams in the world that he's gonna walk into and not be an automatic starter. There's not. He just happens to be in one of like the one like one of the one or two teams that's a situation for. But right now, if he goes to Man City, right, depending on what happens with Savinho, I think he leaves. Sorry, I'm pretty sure he starts. You know what I mean? But it's Liverpool. He's not going to start over Mo Salah. Barcelona, obviously, I don't think he'll go there, but he's not going to start over Lamine Yamal. So like there's only a handful of teams where he goes in and he's not a starter, and he deserves that at that point. At 24 years of age, it's a World Cup year. He wants that. He deserves it. So, do I want him to leave? No. Do I think he should leave for the betterment of his career? At this point, as much as it pains me to say, absolutely. Unless something happens again with the Vinny contract and then he ends up leaving, then it depends. It depends what plays. But I was very surprised to see Brahim starting over Rodrigo. Brahim is a great player overall. Like he can open up spaces, he's good with the ball at his feet. But Rodrigo's just a different breed, and I don't see why. Like while I think Ancelotti was a little too loyal to the players, right? Even sometimes where players like Rodrigo himself might have deserved to be subbed off, he just left them on. I don't see how someone can think that overall seeing their skill and unless we're not the coach, unless it's seeing something in practice that we're not seeing on the field, I don't see how someone like Brahim is better than Rodrigo. Um, but yeah, guys, those are just two quick things I wanted to talk about. What do you guys think about Vinny's contract situation? How do you feel about Rodrigo leaving, bro? Because it's like I said to me, I'd rather not. I don't want to see him leave. But as a fan of the player, it was a very similar. It was a oh Jesus, it was a very similar situation to James Rodriguez. I didn't want James to leave because he's a great player coming off the bench. But that's the thing. At that point, obviously his career didn't go the way that we all thought it was going to go. But at the time, he was too good to just be coming off the bench week in week out. But yeah, what do you guys think? But yeah, guys, catch you in the next one. Laters.